cord to my computer. Aiden is here. Let me get that out of the way. So Aiden, you were able to get in, right? Yep, Aiden's here, perfect. I'm just seeing some of these emails popping up, so I'm just trying to take a look. And I am going to get started. Reese's Pieces isn't here, Bree isn't here, Meryl's not here, Jessica's not here. So people will be able to join us coming in. Let's get started with our task for today though, because it will take us the whole amount of time today. And I would love if I'm going to try to keep it to our time frame, our normal time frame, but I might go over like I did last week. Please just refrain from like, I understand that we're going over, and like if we go significantly over, then you can let me know. But if I go a few minutes over, please refrain from making comments. Let's take a look at our warm up for today. Let me turn my camera. This is probably the most annoying piece of this live streaming is I cannot figure out, I don't have a place to put my camera so that you can see my face. I'm gonna try it like this. I don't know how well you can see me, but we'll try it. So we're looking at this warm up here. What strategy and or step would you complete first? We talked about two different processes that we could do here. We talked about distributing and we talked about dividing. Throw in the chat which strategy you would use if you were to tackle each one of these problems. So let's look at the first problem first. So what strategy would you use for the first one here, and be prepared to tell me why you think that. So a lot of people are saying, well, actually I'm mixed right now. So we're saying distribute. So Melina, why don't you unmute yourself and tell me, why would you distribute here?
I would distribute because 7 and 2 aren't divisible by 8.
Very good. So remember, I told you, as we are working in math moving forward, we want to be detectives. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do here. You're going to have to make the decision based on the data that you're given. Because if I were to divide by 8 here, that would give me like a fraction of like 7x plus 2 equals 8 parentheses 9x plus 5, right? So I would have 8, oh God, I would have 7/8x plus 1/4, oh God, what am I doing? Equals 9x plus 5. That's loco hot cocoa. For this one here, you want to distribute. And if we think about what distribute means, that means we're taking this number outside our parentheses and multiplying it by both pieces or all of the pieces inside of the parentheses. Good. Now the second one, what are we thinking the tactic will be for the second one? Throw it in the chat. What do you think? I'm going to give 20 more seconds for people to write, and then we will start to look at answers. Plus 8x. Boom. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of people telling me to divide. A few people actually said, I'm not saying like actually like it's bad, I'm saying are saying to distribute. So one of my friends, Claire, Haley, can you tell me why you thought the answer that you chose, Haley?
I thought divide because 81 and 36 are divisible by 9.
Call extension 48. Ramadan, if you're in the building, could you please call extension 4837? Thank you.
Goodness. Okay, good. So she said that she chose the divide here because this 9 this number that's outside my parentheses here goes into each one of these parts evenly and nicely, right? So if I divide by the 9 here, these cancel out. If I divide my 36 by the 9 and my 81x by the 9, this would reduce to 9x plus how much? Throw it in the chat.
4.
4, good. Equals the -6 plus 8x. Good. So we would want to distribute, or we would want to divide here because it works evenly and it goes in nicely. Very good. So I'm going to encourage you to be a detective. Don't just follow the rules that you were previously taught, and don't stick with what's easy. Push yourself, do the things that are a little bit more challenging, like this divide, so that it simplifies your answer for you and you don't have to deal with such huge numbers. We don't want to do that. That's crazy. It's a waste of your time. We can be doing nice things and not stressing about huge numbers. Okay? So let's move forward to the activity for today. So what we're doing is we're finishing up this activity about Noah and Lynn here. So what strategy did Noah do for his first step here between step 1 and step 2? What did he do for strategy? Who can throw it in the chat and let me know? What was the strategy that he distributed? Very good. So he took this 2 and he multiplied it by each piece here. So he distributed. Okay. And what did Lynn do?
Divide.
Divided. Very good. So that means we took each piece here and divided by 2. If you looked at this, the right side here, and you're like, I don't know what happened, look to the other side, because when you're looking at the side without the parentheses is probably where it's going to be clearer what happened. So when you look at this 14, we went from a 14 to a 7, so we either had to subtract 7a, but that didn't happen, or we had to divide by 2. Good. So Lynn divided. So let's give a final answer here. Do we agree with either one of them, or both of them, or neither of them? What do we think? Okay, so some friends are saying that they agree with Noah because he distributed. And I think that's yes. So you think, Julia said that she thinks that Noah could have divided. So so both of these are correct options. So both are correct. Correct. But using that logic of which one will get me less work, which one will be easier for me to deal with, which one should we do? Should we stick with what Lynn did, or should we stick with what Noah did? Nice job, Brady. So who would you stick with? You guys would stick with Lynn? Good. Lynn makes the numbers easier. The numbers easier to deal with. So there's no person that's right and there's no person that's wrong here. It's just about simplicity. Which move here would make my answer easier for me to understand, or would cause less errors down the road? Because if we look at this distribution here, we have a really big number here. We have a 14, right? Why would we make our numbers larger if we don't have to? So we want to, for my friends that are at home, like Jaden and Kaden, I want you to be aware that yes, we can do both of these, but we're trying to be the most efficient here. We're trying to be efficient in what we're doing, and cut the number of steps and cut the number of times when we could mess up because our numbers are too big. We want to be detectives and we want to decide, where are we doing this work? Where are we putting in, should we put in a little bit more effort and distribute, or should we simplify and divide? Okay, so if we look at slide number 6, we have Elena and we have Diego. It is your job now. I know on Monday's class we got to get through this one, but I want you to complete it again. Which would you recommend they do for their first step? Distribute or divide, and tell me why. So which one and why? Okay, so that you're taking 2 minutes right now to decide which strategy would you use here and to tell me why. Throw questions in the chat if you have them. You're taking 2 working minutes right now and you're deciding which strategy would you do here. Okay, throw questions in the chat. So Jaden, I want you to write it on the slideshow, but I also want you to tell me, would you divide first or would you distribute? Okay, so that's not necessarily the answer that I'm looking for. I'm looking for, would you divide first or would you distribute first? And then tell me what piece of information tells you to do that one thing. Okay, we have about 1 more working minute. The timer will go off. It's kind of soft, but you will hear it. I'm probably actually going to tie a different timer on there. That's not you guys, sorry. We have about 22 more working seconds. Please give it your best shot. So Jaden, I want you paying really close attention when we go through this section here, because I think this part might have gotten lost in translation when you worked on the first activity. And so I want you to be aware of when we're supposed to distribute and when we should divide.
Yeah, I kind of need that too.
Okay, so just make sure you're paying really close attention as we go through this so that we can learn a little bit more, and then you can have really targeted questions to ask me at the end if you're still unsure, okay? Okay, so let's take a look at Elena. So Elena has 2 steps that she can do here. She can either divide or she can distribute. In the chat, I want you to tell me, what strategy would you do here? If you, as a mathematician or a mathematician, what would you do here? And be prepared. So Jessica, I'm recording, so I'll send it to you at the end, okay? Okay, Julia. Julia said that we should divide here. And Julia, why did you think that we needed to divide here? Can you unmute yourself and let me know?
I think that we need to divide 5, 10, and 15 are all compatible.
Good, awesome job, Julia. That was really specific, awesome. So she said that she would, let me make sure that I have it copied down. So she said that she would divide here because this 5 goes nicely into all 3 parts of this equation, right? This expression. If you divide by 5 here, those cancel out nicely. This 10, this negative 10 is easily divisible by 5. And this 15 is easily divisible by 5. So like I've been saying since Monday, We want to be a detective. We can't just say we're going to distribute all of them because distribution is easier. We're going to look at all of our pieces here. So I looked at the 15, I looked at the -10, and I said to myself, those are easily divisible by this number that falls outside my parentheses. So I decided to simplify my equation by dividing each piece by 5, because 5 goes into 10, -10, and 15 evenly. So this reason why also needs to be written down, because yes, we say divide. Can you guys not hear me? Throw in the chat if you can hear me. Okay, good. I got scared because somebody put in the chat that, so I'm recording this, by the way. If you do lose internet, it will be available for you to watch afterwards. Good. So we want to make sure that we're looking at each of the pieces, and the number that's outside the parentheses, does it go evenly in? You want to cut down on the steps so that you don't have to distribute this and get 5x plus 45. If you distribute that, that's 45. Come on. No. Make it easy on yourself. Divide it when you can, okay? So now in the chat, I want you to tell me, what would you do for Diego? What would you have Diego do? Okay, I'm gonna give you 13 seconds to type that in right now. What would you have Diego do? And then be prepared, because I will be asking people to share. Okay, so you know what? Caden gave me an answer, and he said he thinks we might want to distribute. And Caden, why do you think, based on what we were just talking about, do you want to give me a reason why you think you might distribute?
Well, I mean, if you look, you don't want to get 45 with that 5x. So you kind of, honestly, you're going to want to distribute to get, you know, a much simpler answer. So,
Well, when we distribute, though, we would be multiplying 4 times the x, 4 times the 5. So we would be getting larger numbers here. We would get 4x plus 20, right? It's not simplifying it. But why would we, huh? So Dylan gave me a really good answer. Dylan, do you want to unmute and tell me why we would actually distribute here?
You would distribute because 4 doesn't go into 3 easily.
4 does not go into 3 easily.
Hello.
Hi, Jaden. So what I want you to do is I want you to just follow along. I'm going to put this video up in case there are parts that you can't hear. You can go back and watch it later, okay? Very good. Because we're going to distribute, because 3 doesn't go evenly into 4 doesn't go evenly, sorry, 4 does not go evenly into 3 and 8. We don't want to set ourselves up with fractions, because fractions are no fun. So if you were to divide here, you would have a new numerator of 3/4 x minus 2, right? And we don't want to set ourselves up with unnecessary fractions. So you want to be strategic. We're going to be looking at some other examples on Thursday, Friday, but we want to be strategic. We want to cut out the extra steps and make it easier on ourselves. So we distributed here because 4 doesn't go into our 2 other pieces evenly, okay? So now let's take a look at slide number 7, okay? So now what I want you to do, you're going to take 1.5 working minutes, and you're going to decide, what are some advantages of distributing first? What are some advantages of dividing first? You're taking a minute and a half right now to list off one advantage of both. Questions? Throw questions in the chat, please. If you finish early, take a look at the question at the bottom. Is one path more right than another? Only if you finish though, so don't rush. Okay, we have 43 more working seconds. So if you finish early, like I said, take a look at that next question. Is one path more right than another? So while you're waiting, we're finishing up. If you want to share out an advantage of distributing, put it in the chat and I will call on you and I will allow you to share out your answer. You can either type it in the chat or you can can you guys can hear me? Yep, good. Who wants to help me out with a reason? Can I have Jessica? Can you unmute Jessica? And can you tell me one advantage of distributing first? Jessica, can you hear me? Maybe? No? Okay. Let's try Caleb, can you let us know what's one advantage of distributing first?
I know one for dividing.
Okay, so give me one for dividing.
It's easier to handle the numbers when you divide.
Very, very good. It's easier to handle, H-A-N-D-L-E, the final numbers when you divide. Very good. And you only want to divide when they go in evenly. Good. And Dylan gave me an example of an advantage of distributing first is not having to deal with the hard division. And yes, that is a reason, but that is not the only reason. Yes, Jaden, we are still going on right now. When we are talking about this, we don't want to only make the decision because we don't want to deal with division, but because the advantages of distributing is you don't always you won't get fractions necessarily. You won't have to deal with fractions. Now, if we're looking at this here, is there one path that's more right than another? Throw it in the chat. Do you think that there's one path that's more right than the other, or one that you should do more than others? Tell me why you think that also. So some people are saying, no, there's not one path that's more right. We just need to do what? Awesome, Julia. That's exactly the answer I was looking for. No, there's not one that's more right. It just depends. That's to be a D. Depends on the situation and numbers. Okay? So you want to make sure that you're looking at the situation. You're not picking, there's in this case, I mean, in Lynn's case and Noah's case, there was one that was more right? It would take you less steps. It would be a little bit easier. But in the general sense of it, there's no one that you should always do as compared to the other. You want to look at all of your data. You want to make a decision based on the data that you have, the numbers that you have. If they go in easily, you're going to want to divide. If they don't go in easily, don't make a hassle for yourself and just do the distribution or the multiplication. Okay? Does that make sense? Aiden, that's a really good point. He said that no, they both can be better depending on the equation. Very good. That's exactly what Julia said, except with a little bit of a different wording. Nice job. So what we're going to be doing on activity slide number, so task 2, slide number 9, what I want you to do is I want you to click the C4, please click here, and we're going to do a card sort activity. So on my screen, I'm going to pull up teacher Desmos, and I'm going to, you guys are the first one here. So I would like you to get into this activity. I have already, oh, nope, sorry. I already have 4 people in here. I want you to stick to slide number 1, please. Stick to slide number 1, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do once I get more people in. Okay, so click on that link on the slide and make sure that you stick to slide number 1. So let's head back to slide number 1. Make sure you're on there. Make sure you're logging in with Google so that it has your name already here for me. And I'm going to let a few more people join in. And don't worry about these X's here because we're going to do it together. So let's make sure that we're sticking to slide number 1 so that we can read the directions together. So I am going to get started. People can still join in. I'm going to just pull up the student slide. So this is what you should be seeing on slide number 1. It says your teacher will give you some cards. Each of the picture cards shows 2 equations. Each of the text cards describes a move that turns one equation into another. Match each number card with a letter card, okay? One of the letter cards will not have a match. For this card, write an equation that shows the described move. So let's take a look at what the activity is asking us to do. So let's actually look at those cards. So you're on this slide right here, and my suggestion to you is, this is what we're going to do here. I want you to take all the cards that have numbers and put them over to one side, and all the cards that have letters and put them over to the other side so that there's a space in the middle. That looks like mine. So I want you to get yours to look like mine. Okay, so we're all sorted out. And this one that says no equation, please create your own. Put that on the side with the numbers. Throw in the chat if you have any problems with this. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take these number cards and we're going to take them one at a time, and we're going to move them into the center and find the description that matches it. So if I grab card number 1, if I look at step number 1 to step number 2, what is happening here? What is happening to both sides of this equation to get from step number 1 to step number 2? So Eric, what you need to do is you need to put all the number cards on the right and all the letter cards on the left. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is now you're going to grab one of the number cards and move it to the center like I did. Okay? And you're going to say to yourself, you're going to ask yourself, how is it different from step number 1 to step number 2? So what am I doing to this equation to go from step number 1 to step number 2? Who can throw in the chat what's changing from step number 1 to step number 2? Good. So if you look at it and you say you have 3x plus 7 equals 5x, and I need to get to 7 equals 2x. So, right? So to each side, I went from 5x to 2x. So I'm subtracting 3x here. And if I subtract 3x from my right side, I have to do the same thing to my left side. And when I do that, these cancel out. And I'm left with 7x is equal to 2x. Does everyone see how I did that? So if I subtracted 3x from each side, I'm going to look over here to find a description that matches that. Oh, this says multiply, 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 add, add, add. Okay. So now I'm only adding, but I said I needed to subtract here. So if I say subtract 3x, that's the same thing as saying add how much? Add the -3, very good. So if I'm subtracting 3, that's the same thing as saying add a -3. So which one has adding -3x to each side? Which letter am I going to match with this card then? B, very good. So I'm going to take this card B and I'm going to match it up. And make sure that when you do that, they actually, the one underneath highlights so that they group together, okay? And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move it up out of my way. I don't know why it's not letting me. And I'm going to grab another card and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look at what's happening between step 1 and step 2. And then I'm going to try to find a match over on the left-hand side here. I'm giving you 3 working minutes. I don't expect you to get through all of it. I'm expecting you to try your best. So for the next 3 working minutes, I want you to try to match the rest of these number cards with the descriptions over here. And then one of the descriptions is not going to have one. So match the one that's left with this bottom piece down here. Okay, throw questions in the chat. You're taking 3 working minutes right now.
Wait, sorry, which one did you say we were doing? My audio cut out.
So we are doing the rest of these number ones here, Kaden. We're matching them with the description of what's happening here. Okay. And I'm going to erase my board so that I have space when I go to do my descriptions and make my matches. I'm going to move this one up a little bit. Okay, so we have about 2 more working minutes. You guys are doing fantastic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop. Am I not sharing my screen right now? No, I am. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment so that I can look at your work that you're working on right now, and so that you sort of have a little bit of privacy. Let me hop here. Yep, so I took the smart board off, Jaden, and now it's just everybody's faces. Okay? And I'm gonna put it back up after you after you take some time to work, okay? Eric. Where did Eric, is Eric in here? Eric, buddy, are you able to get onto Desmos right now? Nice, Fizza. We have 3 already made. Keep moving forward. I love it. Haley, nice job. You have 2 already made. Keep going forward. Nice job, Claire. Dylan, nice job.
Ramadan, please call extension 4837.
So what I'm gonna do, Dylan, is I'm gonna make those matches for you because they need to be stacked together like the other ones. You can pull them apart if you wanna make changes to them. So Jason, we don't have any made yet. What's going on? Throw in the chat what the situation is. Okay, I'm gonna give you 30 more working seconds. Oh, that's okay, Jason. So why don't you just follow along with what we're doing right now when we go through it, okay? So I'm going to, let me just go back to this and I'm gonna close out of this work that someone did. And we're gonna come back to the student version and we're going to start to go through it. So let me share my screen. I'm gonna pop around to the front and we're gonna take a look at this together. Okay, so if we look at this card, let me actually pull up the chat so that you guys have the option to throw questions in. Sorry, guys. Chats, wonderful. I'm gonna pull that right up there and we're gonna keep going, okay? So we have step 1 to step 2. My numbers are getting smaller, so I know that I'm either gonna have to subtract or divide because my number from here to here is getting smaller. But I'm not subtracting the same amount from each piece because this would be subtracting 4, this would be subtracting 2. So because we're not subtracting the same number from each piece, we can't say that it's going to be subtraction. It's going to be some sort of division. So let's think about what the division is going to be, and then we can make a decision on which one it's going to be over here. So we're dividing each side by how much? How much am I dividing each side by, or each piece by here? Okay, let's take a look. So if I'm going from 12 to 4, I'm dividing by some sort of number, right? I'm going to be dividing by the number, sorry, that was kind of loud. I would be dividing by 3. If I divide each piece by 3, it's going to get us there. So if we're dividing by 3 and I look at my options, oh, there's no divide. So dividing by 3 is the same thing as multiplying by how much? 1/3, exactly. So when I divide by 3, that's the same thing as saying multiply by 1/3. So which card, if I'm gonna have to divide by or multiply by 1/3, which card am I gonna have to match up with card number 2 then? What letter? Very good. It's going to be card number 3, and let's see why. Because card number 3, if you click on it, it says multiply each side by 1/3. So that means I'm going to grab this guy, click them together, and now they're a pair. Let me just put them back together. And now I'm going to move them out of here. Very good. Nice job. Let's take a look at number 3 now. So I have 10x minus 6x equals 4 plus 5x. Which card did we match up with this one here? Throw it in the chat. I see a couple different answers, so let's go through this. So which piece is changing here on either side from step 1 to step 2? Is the x or the variable changing, or is the constant changing? If we're looking at this here, which piece of this equation is changing? The constant or the variable? Very good. The constant is changing. It's going from 10 to 7. So what operation would that be? What operation would I be doing if I'm going from 10 to 7? I'm going to be subtracting 3. Exactly, Claire. So I'm going to be subtracting 3 from each side. So if I'm subtracting 3 from both sides and I look for a description over here, what is the same thing as subtracting 3 from each side? Adding -3 to each side. Very good. So which card am I going to match this one up with? I'm going to get a few more people. Tell me, which card are we matching card 3 up with? Very good. Nice job, guys. We're adding -3 to both. So, let me, the pen is in my pocket. Sorry, guys. We are going to grab this guy and match them together. Okay. So now let's take a look at 4. 4 was a little bit challenging. What did we think was going on between step 1 and step 2? Tell me in the chat, what operation do we think is going on between step 1 and step 2? What did we have to do to get it from step 1 to step 2? Okay, so yes, I see your answer, Claire. I just was giving people some time to think. Okay, so in this case, in this one, when we click on it, like if we click on it and it'll get a little bit bigger, we're saying that we have 5x over 3, over the -3, which means this is equal to dividing by -3 here. So if we want to undo division, how do we undo division? What's the opposite of division? Opposite of division is not adding. The opposite of division is multiplying. Very good. So if we want to cancel out this -3 here, we need to do the opposite or inverse operation. So we're going to have to multiply by -3 here. Because we have a divide by 3 when we have a fraction, that means the same thing as divide by 3. So to undo that, we have to multiply by -3. So which card letter are we matching this statement up with? It's not going to be A, because A says multiply each side by -1/3. We're not multiplying each side by -1. Oh, no, yes. No. We're multiplying, if we're looking at F, because we're multiplying each side by -3. Okay, so we're multiplying each side by -3, so we're going to want to match it up with card F. Okay, let's look at the last one here. Okay, I have card number 5. Okay, so I'm looking at step 1 to step 2. What did we think was going on here? This is a throwback to the first piece we did today. Who can identify what step we did here? Tell me in the chat, what did we do here? So to go from, nice job, Claire. To go from this first piece here to when we go down here, that -3 is gone. And how do we undo that -3? We're not distributing it because we would get a -12x plus 9. This would be division. Divide by 3, divide by -3. And how do we write divide by 3 as multiply? If I'm talking about the statement multiply, what would we have to multiply by? That means the same thing as divide by -3. Nice job, Fizza. I want a couple people to tell me in the chat, what is the same thing if we're talking about multiply? What would I multiply by to be the same thing as dividing by -3? Nice job, Claire. We would multiply by -1/3 because we remember when we're talking about going back and forth between division and multiplication, we need to reciprocate our number. Let me tell you what that means. So let me make this connection and then we're going to come back to, I'm going to go on an empty slide and I'm going to finish off for today. Okay, so the one that did not have a match was add 3x to each side. Okay, so let me pull up an empty slide and I'm going to go over a few things as sort of a review for today. So just give me a moment. Let me come to the end here. And actually, I'm going to go and I'm going to insert blank. Okay, so let me present this. I want everybody's eyes up on this screen right here. Let's take a look. So we were talking today about converting all of these things that we're doing to either addition or subtraction. Addition or multiplication. So if I have to do to both sides, if I have to subtract 3x from both sides, what's another way that I can write subtract 3x from both sides? If I'm talking about, I want to take it and I want to convert it to addition. How can I rewrite that? If I want to talk about subtracting 3x from both sides, how could I rewrite that as addition? So that it doesn't change its meaning. One moment. Okay. We can say the same, this means the same thing as adding -3x to both sides. Good, nice job. So what if I gave you this one right here and I said I needed to divide by 4 on both sides, but all of my options only had either multiplication or division. How could I write this as multiplication? Be specific, Aiden. Do what with that? I need a couple more people to put it in the chat. Be specific, Dylan. Be specific, Aiden. Oh, good. No, that's good, Aiden. We would multiply by our reciprocal. We remember that 4 is equal to, we can also rewrite 4 as 4 over 1. And when we want to convert from multiplication to division, when we want to convert, we need to reciprocate or find the reciprocal of that fraction. So now when we want to divide by 4 on both sides, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of that, which is 1/4 on both sides. Okay? So we're not gonna multiply by the negative reciprocal. So we're not gonna say negative 1/4 on both sides. No way, Jose. We are going to say just simply multiply by 1/4 on both sides. Okay. So let's finish off today. I'm going to take the last 1.5 minutes to explain what your closing activity is for today. Let me just grab my camera. Give me one moment. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. I'm going to close out of this and I'm going to pull back up our PowerPoint for today. So how are we ending our day today? Let me show you. If you go in the PowerPoint and you slip and slide down to slide number 15, it's kind of messy. Sorry, give me 1 second. We have an exit slip. Some of you guys actually, if you were in class on Monday, Tuesday, had the opportunity to complete this exit slip. A couple people, oh, we're not going to finish our Desmos slides. No. Thank you for asking. Sorry, I just got confused for 1 second. Sorry. So if you were in class on Monday and Tuesday, you probably, or Monday, you had the opportunity to complete this Google form. So what I need from you right now, if you did not fill out this Google form in class or at home, I want you to go through and complete it now. You're going to look at each one of these steps and you're going to decide what is happening. So you have these descriptions and you're telling me which step did each one of these descriptions happen in. So from step 1 to step 2, step 3 to step 4, step 4 to step 5. Which one did you add 3 to each side? Which one did you multiply both sides by 1/6? And which one did you divide both sides by 2? Does everyone understand what we have to finish up for today? You're not finishing the Desmos slides. You're just finishing up the exit slip. And you're emailing me questions if you didn't get a chance to do that. Kaden, were you able to work on that test yesterday? It needs to get done today. It's due by midnight tonight, okay? Also, Jessica, is she still here? Jessica's still here? No, Jessica's not here. Wonderful. So everybody else, your test grades have been put into PowerSchool. In class, I'm going to give you like a little handout that like goes through each of the questions and I put comments on them for like if they were wrong, why they were wrong. For my friends that are at home, I should have emailed it to you already if you took it. So check your email if you didn't get that, or if you don't know where it is, I already sent it to you. I can resend it if you need it. Does anybody have any questions for me? No? Okay, so tomorrow, guys, listen, I will be live streaming during your class period. So I'm gonna put all that information up on the Google stream tonight, the classroom stream tonight. So if you're at home tomorrow, please make sure that you check our classroom stream because I will be doing that tomorrow, okay? Check back today around 3-ish because I'm getting a new car today, so I'm gonna do it at 3-ish. Does anybody have questions for me? No? So if you finish the exit slip, you guys are all set for the day for me and you can head out. Have a good day. Let me know if you need anything, if you want to stick around for a minute.